Hi everyone, this is Luna. I just wanted to go ahead and put together a quick video on my adventure or pathway going into cybersecurity. This is a very requested question that I get often from many different people as to how I found my way into the position that I have, and so I figured that instead of continuously writing out my story, not that I mind sharing it, it just might be easier to go ahead and compile it all into one place and into a video to make it into an easier format. So very quickly, for those of you who don't know me, I am an neurodivergent advocate. I'm also an SOC analyst. I just started working in this field just this year, but I have been in the field since last year. I am a graduate of Wazoo's cybersecurity bootcamp program, and I can't say enough good things about them. Um, my path started in at the end of 2018. I saw a lot of posts, a lot of different ads on Facebook, really in regards to software coding boot camps, and it really intrigued me, but I never felt that I was smart enough to learn. I it was always above my head. I just felt like it was just something I could never pursue. It wasn't until then that I kept being bombarded daily with these ads, and it was just like, maybe this is a sign. I was very unhappy where I was. At the time, I was working for a very well known bank, and I was working in customer service and sales, and I was extremely burnt out. At the time, my background predominantly has been in customer service and sales. I was just so overwhelmed and burnt out and tired, and I just felt like I was stagnating. And so, talking with my husband, I said, I felt like this isn't me. This isn't something I want to do anymore. And he said, honey, you can do anything you put your mind to. And you know that I strongly encourage you to pursue anything that sets your heart on fire. So if this is what you want to do, absolutely do it. And so the first step that I took was, instead of looking at the colleges or the boot camps, I looked at any free resources I could get my hands on. And the first one that I did was I looked into Free Code Camp's website, and I immediately signed up for the responsive web developers certificates program. And it took me a really long time to finish it because it is self-paced, and as somebody with ADHD, you start on task A, you end up on task D, and before you know it, you're on task Z, even though you haven't completed the rest of the steps to get there. So there was a lot of procrastination, a lot of imposter syndrome, and it took me about 2 years to finish, give or take. But it was very well worth it. It was something that I absolutely loved. And in the process of, I ended up reaching out to a college, and the recruiter had got me thinking about what I wanted to pursue. And we started talking about ethical hacking. And she said, this is a part of cybersecurity. Have you ever considered that? And I said, no, honestly, I don't even really know that much about it. And she said, well, what is it about coding that interests you? And I said, I love the idea of being able to take things apart and fix them and make them better. And she said, I really feel like cybersecurity is a better fit for you. Not that, if you don't want to code, that's something that you don't want to do and isn't a path for you. But I feel like cybersecurity is a better field for you. Let's look into that for you. And that way you can make the best decision for you. And that just really was the pivotal point for me to look at myself and say, what is it I want to do? What is it I want to pursue? I continued studying coding, but I pivoted from there quite heavily and found myself with Wazoo in February of 2021. And it was the point of no return for me. And I never want to go back. If for the first time I've been in a place where digging in and finding the root of the problem is celebrated and not told, don't do that. I'm not punished for it. Um, so I enrolled in the boot camp. I spent 2 years looking for the right fit and making sure that it was the right one for me. I'm a huge advocate for it's not a one size fits all solution. There are some boot camps out there that are very money hungry and you're a number and nothing else. But there are some out there that you're a person first and foremost before anything else. Each person has their own experience, and that's it. Each person has their own um, walk away, and that's the most important thing is that every one of you, your experience is going to be your own. Own it. Your experience will be very different from person B and person C. Don't be discouraged because you're not living up to what you feel like you should be. Because you see someone else having a very different experience than you, please, please, please don't be discouraged because they may have had or taken a very different route. One of the things that I see very, very common is that people get very discouraged because they're not living up to their own expectations. But what you don't see behind the scenes is that everybody's walking a very, very different path. Mine is very different because I didn't go the traditional route. I didn't go to college. I didn't get a bachelor's degree. After I graduated from WazU, actually, let me even back up just a tiny bit because it does tie into this. While I was in school, I did end up applying for a couple of different positions. The first for, honestly, I don't even remember what the position was. It was very early on in my school. I bombed my interview horrendously. I couldn't even tell him what a DNS was. My brain just totally stopped. I completely blanked. At the end of the interview, it was like, that's what it was. I had such bad nerves. I was so terrified of just blowing this that it was awful. But I knew I was a newbie, completely switching fields, completely changing things over and trying something different, that it was okay. I ended up about almost 3/4, halfway through my studying. I ended up getting a job as a help desk associate at my local hospital, and that really built a solid foundation for me to be able to take the role that I'm in now. So if that's something that you are considering, definitely don't discredit working help desk. It is a phenomenal place to get your foot in the door. It can be a very tough position, but it is so rewarding in its own way because it will help you build a very solid foundation. In addition, something that I tell everybody, please don't feel like you have to know what you want to do walking into the field. There's so many different routes that you can take, and there's so many different niches within the cybersecurity field that it's impossible to know every little nook and cranny. You can walk in saying that you want to be, let's say, an ethical hacker, and decide that halfway through you want to go into doing GRC, or what's known as governance, oh my gosh, my brain is blinking, governance, risk, and compliance. If I get it wrong, we'll link it down below so I have the correct definition for you. But my point is that there's so much that you can do. You can pivot, you can try something new, and don't be afraid to want to try something new. There's so much that you can explore and try. From WazU, I went ahead, I graduated, and I stayed with my help desk position, but I saw on LinkedIn that someone had posted they were doing a Python study group, and Python is something I was really, really weak on, and I was like, this will be really good for me. I can go ahead and get a pretty good understanding, and so I joined. Turns out I fell in love with the people there. They've become my tribe. They are amazing. They're called the IT Society, and I became a mod and help run the group, and they are just an amazing group of people. Super supportive, super I can't even say enough good things. If you are having a really rough day, they will help cheer you up. They help with resume, they help with interview prep. There's just so much, and I can't say enough good things. But it brings me to the next point, which is not interview, but network with intention. One of the things that people will say is to go ahead and get to know hiring managers and recruiters. Well, that's really great to do. Also get to know people who work for companies that you're interested in, but don't discredit small companies too. Also think about companies you may have never heard of, because everybody wants the big companies. They want the big names, but you may never know where your shot is in companies you may have never heard of. I never had heard of my company before my friend worked for them and she got the job there. Once I found out about them, they really intrigued me, and so it really opened some doors for me. Network with intention, get to know them on a human level, on a personal level, get to know them as people. They'll get to see what you can bring to the table, and that can open so many doors for you, because then they can go ahead and give you a referral and an edge in, and that's something that will help distinguish you from other people. But yeah, so that's something that happened for me, was that through my mentoring and helping with the group, there were some people who were able to see what I was able to bring to the table, and that helped get me to where I am right now, which is working for an amazing company that I feel right at home. I don't feel like I have to hide who I am, and I'm just so incredibly blessed to see what's right around the corner and where I can go from where I'm at. So I wanted to go ahead, put this together, and show to you that my path is not what you would typically think of. Most people you see on these postings, you have to have a bachelor's degree, you have to have certifications. I don't have any of my certs yet in the industry, but I'm working on them. My company chose to take a chance on me because they saw potential. And that's something I want to tell to you, is take a chance on you. Even if you see these listings on the postings, if you feel like you don't fit the criteria, but you have enough of it, take a chance on you. The worst that they're going to say is no, and that's okay. I spent 3 or 4 years applying for where I am today, and I had over 1,000, oh gosh, I want to say maybe the number's closer to like 1,500 applications, and I can't tell you how many rejections right off the bat that I received. But I mean, it's so worth it in the end to finally get to where you're going. And once you do, it's going to be well worth it. Sorry, my dog's hearing noises. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and just let you know your path is yours. Own it. It's worth it. Have a good day.